Well, happy Victoria Day. We're celebrating the 24th of May on the 19th now. It's a crazy world, I guess. But anyway, we had a very wet weekend. I just looked at my rain gauge, and an inch and a half. I'm not sure what that is in milliliters or millimeters, whatever it is they measure it in. But a lot of rain over the weekend. And the entire week is due to be foggy, cloudy, and some rain every day. Not any torrential rain forecast or anything, but not great weather for gardening. Wonderful weather for slugs. I'm out with slug bait this morning trying to salvage some of the things that I planted over the weekend. These are the cuttings of black currant that I don't know when exactly, probably late March sometime, I guess. I took the cuttings. They were completely dormant at the time. I'm amazed at how easily it is to make new black currant plants. I'll never buy another one of those. I'll just do rooted cuttings off of my own. Varying amounts of root. This one certainly is the best with lots of root on it, but each one of these 4 cuttings have some root. You can see them or not, there, and there. And I'm going to pot them on in 1-gallon grow bags, which just has my that commercial mix that I use, to which I added some organic fertilizer. Grow them in these bags probably until August or so, when I will transplant them into that area that I've sheet mulched. By then, hopefully, it will be, composted enough that it won't be so strong that it would burn anything. But I'll put a row along the edge anyway of black currants. Looks like I'm going to get 4. I will put these in the hoop house and grow them in there for a few weeks before I set them outside somewhere, using my potting bench that used to be in the hoop house outside now. And I have 4 containers on it. One is that mesclun mix, and I've had a salad out of already, delicious stuff. The one on the same side coming this way, the deep trough, has got some carrots in it, and the other 2 have got lettuce, the pelletized lettuce seed, number 64 in the list down below, and the carrots are number 25 if you want to look at them. Anyway, today I plan to move the Cara potatoes outside. It's going to be a cool, damp week. Hopefully not too wet for them, but good time to transition plants out of the house and out of the hoop house when it's not so hot and sunny. So they're coming out, and I think my smart pots have arrived at the U.S. post office over in Maine. It's not a holiday over there this weekend. Next weekend is their holiday, Memorial Holiday weekend. So going over and pick those up, and if they're here, I will also bring out my tomato plants and probably the eggplant as well, and transplant those and put them in the hoop house. Cloudy days are a good chance for those to transition before the sun returns. This is the organic, they're calling it garden food, I guess, plant food, organic fertilizer that I'm using this year. I've been buying it over at the hardware store, or building supply store rather, that I use for the materials for my hoop house and whatever over in Machias, Maine. But the makeup of it is 5% nitrogen, 4% phosphates, 3% potash, and 9% calcium. You don't often see the amount of calcium mentioned, but I thought that would be good, especially for tomatoes, because they like a lot of calcium in the soil. That's why you use a lot of compost. Compost is rich in calcium. No idea what's in it, other than they're saying it's organic. I've read everything on it. It doesn't give you the list of ingredients, but I bought 2 more 20-pound bags yesterday because I have almost used up this one around the gardens this spring. I was telling the man that was waiting on me in the store, I'm going on the fact that it smells so bad. Anything that smells that bad's got to be good, I guess. I don't know what's in it. It has a very strong smell. I suspect a lot of blood and bone And there may be some sorts of manures in it as well, or fish or something anyway, but supposedly completely organic, and that's what I'm using. The Cara potatoes, they've been moved outside, not into their final location. Where I want to move them is off to the left, and it's where there's been a pile of potting mix and soil and whatever, and I'm slowly removing that, put some in that raised bed that I did last week, and I have to build another raised bed sometime this week for the sweet potatoes when they arrive. But I'm experimenting. If you watched previous video when I started these things, there's one Cara potato in each one of the bags, but I'm using 4 smart pots and 4 plastic grow bags. In my opinion, the smart pots are already growing better, but I don't think it's really a fair comparison at this time. I'm not certain what size the smart pots are. I can't remember. I've had them for a number of years, but I would say 5 gallons, maybe even 4 gallons. And I know that the grow bags are 7 gallons, so the potatoes, of course, aren't completely to the top of the grow bags yet, but the potato plant themselves look larger to me in the smart pots. The basic difference is what they call air pruning. Smart pots of fabric, when the roots of a plant approach the edges of the fabric, they encounter air and they think they've reached the surface. Not that plants can really think, but the plant has reached the surface, so it stops growing roots in that direction. At the bottom, roots will actually come out through the fabric and go into the ground. Where they were sitting in the hoopos, they were already attached to the soil, so they get nutrients out of the ground as well. But I'm wondering if the air pruning is beneficial, so that's what I'm going to try to prove when I do my big potato reveal later in the summer. We'll see if there's any difference. The rain showers turned into steady rain, so I've moved into the cabin temporarily. You can probably hear a hiss in the background there. That's the gas lantern going. I had the gas stove, both burners going on it as well, and warmed the cabin up to 23 degrees very quickly. I think I misspoke earlier when I said that I thought the plastic grow bags were larger than the smart pots that I've been using. I've just picked up the 7-gallon smart pots from the post office, and I've been transplanting tomatoes into them, and they don't appear to me to be any different than the ones that I've been using all along, so I think they were all 7 gallons. So that will make the little test that I'm doing with the Cara potatoes a little more fair, I guess. They're just different shape. They're not any larger in volume. Anyway, I think the rain is letting up. I'll get my cup of tea into me here, and I'll go out and finish that and show you what they look like in the hoopos once I get it finished. Not positioned like they will be once I get the other potatoes out of here. Those bags down to the left there are all the other varieties of potatoes that I planted. Some are just starting to come up and others haven't come up, so I thought if I put them outside in all this wet weather they'd probably rot. So leave them in here. And you can see the one plant there that's growing in the soil. I think it's a foxglove digitalis. I noticed it in here last fall and came through the winter and it's up and growing again. It must have been a seed that came in with some compost. So anyway, decided to leave it alone. Nice to have a foxglove flower in here, I guess. I planted the tomatoes sort of off to one side in their smart pots because, as I said, I want to be able to stake them up. And you can see one right there. There's another one over the far side there. Those are the two that I started probably mid-March, I think. I planted the seeds in the house. The others were started after I came back from my vacation, so around mid-April sometime. That's why there's such a difference in the size. But I wanted at least 2, one of each of the 2 varieties, the yellow pear and Gardener's Delight. Started early in the hopes of getting some earlier tomatoes. Well, there's no blossoms yet, but each of those plants has blossom buds on it. So if I get them pollinated, I guess they will produce earlier than the other ones. But if you see what I mean by the difference in the size, I don't see any difference in the size. Those 2 larger plants were planted in the old smart pots, and everything else is in the new ones, and they appear to be the same size to me, so I think they're all 7-gallon size. If you can hear the rain on the roof here in the hoopos or not, but I am finished working outside for today. It's really a steady rain now. last, I got the Shiitake Logs finished. I cut down a yellow birch tree yesterday, I think it was. So I have 3 logs that are yellow birch and 3 that are poplar. And as you can see, I've just sort of piled them in a triangular fashion, kind of roughly there. The 3 logs that are on the bottom, touching the ground, don't have any plugs in them, but they are also fresh logs. They're part of that poplar tree that I didn't use. I almost used some of the logs that I've been planning on using for hugelkultur. Picked one up and was carrying it over here into the trees where I'm setting this up at, and noticed that it's already got mushrooms and various funguses growing on it, which I think is probably why they recommend you use fresh logs. So I didn't. The 3 on the bottom are fresh poplar logs, and they're in the trees just slightly behind my hoop house, if you can zoom over there. And I checked before I put them here. I have garden hose enough to reach over here. It says that they should be watered every couple of weeks or 12 days or so if it hasn't been any rain. Well, 12 days here without rain is a rare event, but anyway, if I need to water them, I can. My original plan was to dig holes and stand them on end, which is one of the ways that this is done, but then I found 2 or 3 sites online where people were piling them up like this, and I don't know if my thinking on it is correct or not, but I'm thinking that in winter those will be practically buried most of the winter in snow, and that might be better for them rather than being exposed to the extreme cold of our winters, but I really don't know if that makes any difference or not. Anyway, we now have to wait a full year. Next year this time, hopefully, we will see some shiitake mushrooms starting to sprout. If I remember, sometime in early winter, I planted one of the round black Spanish radishes in this, I guess it's a gallon grow bag. And I've noticed that it has formed a radish. I think they're supposed to get even larger than this, but I've decided to harvest this, have it in my salad tonight, and see what I think of round black Spanish radishes. And that's about the size of a small beet. I think the seed packet says they get to be about the size of those turnips, the true turnips, not the rutabagas that we call turnips here. And they supposedly store very well for winter storage. They're used, I guess, in salads, which I'm going to try this tonight in a salad, but they're also used in soups and whatever, so I've got to have a little taste right now too to see what it's like. It's supposed to be very hot. Oh yeah, it is hot, very peppery, not too bad. I like things spicy anyway, but there certainly is plenty of heat in that. So as soon as I get those tomato and pepper plants where I want them, tomato and eggplants, I guess, where I want them in the hoop house, I will be planting more of these seeds in the ground in the hoop house.